The Atlanta Braves just can't have nice things in 2024. While they have a great comeback to earn a series split against the Mets, they lose Ronaldo Lopez in the process. We'll discuss that, also give you the latest news on the trade deadline, what's going on there, and we'll also give you our Miners Monday update, everything happening on the farm and who could get traded. We'll discuss all that on today's episode of Locked On Braves. So let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I am your host, Jake Mastriani. You can follow me on social media at ShortstopBall. Check out the podcast there as well at LockedOn_Braves. Send in any questions, comments, feedback as you have. We get ready for the trade deadline. I know you got plenty of comments and questions. Please send them my way. Also, make sure you subscribe on YouTube if you're new. Hit that thumbs up button and leave me a comment if you would. It does help support the show a ton whenever you do that. And thanks to everybody who lets me know that you're an everydayer out there. I appreciate all your support. Make sure that you leave me a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get Locked On Braves to also help support the show. I do greatly appreciate all of the support that you give me here at Locked On Braves. Today's episode will recap the weekend, a series split against the New York Mets. What looked like it could be disaster. The Braves rally, show some fight, and earn a series split. But again, it comes at a price, as the Braves have potentially lost Ronaldo Lopez. We'll discuss that. Also get into the latest news and rumors for the trade deadline and our Miners Monday update as well. Everything happening down on the farm, where need some prospects playing good, try to help their trade stock as we gear up, as we're less than 48 hours away from the trade deadline. Spyhouse.com is the reliable way to get parts fast. Shop for your next plumbing, HVAC, or electrical job and get fast shipping from coast to coast at supplyhouse.com. Well, the Braves are hoping that they can supply some more power in the final 2 months of the season, and they got that over the weekend, especially in those final 3 games. They earn a series split with the Mets, and when I say earn it, they earned it, because the way that this series started, the just gut-wrenching loss on Thursday, a game that I still don't know how they lost that one, and I know how. They played terrible baseball, but still, you got great pitching. You out-hit them 7-2 in 9 innings, and you still can't find a way to win that game. That's one that's going to sting for a little while, and then you just get blown out on Friday. A big inning, a disastrous inning for Charlie Morton. But then you fight back, and you come back and you win the next 2 games pretty convincingly. And you walk away from this series now when you came in facing a hot Mets team. The Mets were playing a lot better than the Braves coming into this series. And now you look back on that series, you earn a series split on the road, which you'll take that again with as well as the Mets were playing. But now you also look at it and say, man, if we just find a way to win that game on Thursday, we win the series on the road against the hot Mets team. And I think you feel a lot better about yourselves. I still think after earning a split, you feel a lot better about yourselves. And again, outside of that big inning on Friday night, where again, Charlie Morton just had a meltdown, the Atlantic pitching staff just really shut down that Met offense that had been so good. So this, ultimately in the end, I think was an encouraging weekend for the Atlanta Braves. We'll talk about some of the offensive numbers here in a minute, but there's a lot of positives to take away from this weekend for the Atlanta Braves. Let's get into one of the biggest positives, and that is Matt Olson. Look, it's been a struggle for Matt Olson. There is no denying that, but he has racked up some hits over the past week. He has 7 hits in his last 6 games, and now you're starting to see the power come a little bit as well. A great swing on Saturday. You saw him just drive a pitch the other way, something he did a lot earlier this year, but just wasn't getting rewarded. This one sneaks over the fence, and then on Sunday, that ball was just absolutely destroyed into the second deck in right field there. Just a lot of frustration from Matt Olson taken out on that swing. But again, you look at his last 6 games now that he's played. He's 7 for 23. That's a 304 average, 2 home runs in there, still 10 strikeouts, way too many strikeouts. But look, I would rather not see him strike out 30% of the time. But if that's going to come with, the home run power that we expect from Matt Olson, then so be it. I mean, Matt Olson is here to do one thing really, really well, and that's hit for power. Doubles, home runs. We haven't seen that this year like we have expected, But again, good to see it in back-to-back games. First time this year that has happened. You get home runs, and you start to look at this offense again, looking at that last week with this short sample size, and you look at some really good numbers from some of these players now. Adam Duvall with a 918 OPS, Matt Olson 925, Ozuna 930, Arcia, who's had a really good at-bats here lately, a 935 OPS over that stretch. So Sean Murphy, who gets to play every other day, has an 869 OPS over that stretch, but that's just 3 games with 2 hits and 5 walks. We won't go down that road again, but I just don't understand how they're handling Sean Murphy. And I get it. Travis d'Arnaud has been good. He calls a good game. I think Sean Murphy does too. He called a great game on Saturday against Spencer Schwellenbach. And I said I wasn't going to go down this road, but here I am going down it. Let Sean Murphy play. Let the man loose. I don't really know what is going on with that whole situation, but suddenly he's become a backup catcher at this point. But getting back to the main point of what I was trying to get to, this offense has been much better here as of late. Again, Ozuna doing his thing. Riley, he hasn't been as great over that stretch, but still, he had a home run on Sunday and has been much better here as of late over the last month or so. So you get those guys going again. You get Olson's home run bat going. You get Arcia with some better at bats, and you get some contributions, from Travis d'Arnaud, from Sean Murphy, whoever is in the lineup. And then you get Ozuna and Riley doing their thing. You get some help, hopefully, at the trade deadline. And I can see a way out of this for the offense. So, again, some encouraging things happening over the past week for this Braves offense, and especially in those last 2 games that the Braves obviously won in New York. On the pitching side of things, Sell and Schwellenbach were fantastic. Again, you really hate that you didn't lose or that you didn't win that game with Chris Sale, who really just made one mistake to Francisco Lindor, who was one of the hottest players in all of baseball coming into this series, and continued that with that big hit. But then you just couldn't find a way to score that third run and get him that win. Lopez was trending in the right direction before leaving the game with forearm tightness. Again, we'll talk more about that later, but nothing really more to report at this time. It really was just the one big inning on Friday that the Braves pitching staff gave up a ton of runs to the Mets. And outside of that, the pitching was fantastic over that 4-game series against the Mets. And I will mention one highlight from the defense, a great throw by Ramon Laureano. Look, after the big blunder that he made in Thursday's game, not being able to catch that fly ball, getting hung up on the bunt play, squeeze, whatever happened there. It was a rough game for Laureano, but he came back on Sunday, had a home run, threw out a runner at home plate when the game was still pretty tight. It would have made it a 4-1 game had he not made that throw, which was just, again, an unbelievable throw. So I want to make sure we mention that for Laureano after how things started for him in that series. Look, I don't know how much longer he's going to be on this Braves team, depending on what happens at the deadline, but good to see him just kind of bounce back, overcome that, and help the Braves out in a big way on Sunday. All right, next we'll get to the latest trade news and rumors, give you some of my thoughts on some of the deals that have gone down. Should the Braves have been in on some of these? We'll discuss all of that here next. With Stitch Fix, you get a stylist who understands your style, size, and budget. They do all the shopping for you, and thank you so much. I hate shopping. I just be completely honest with you. I don't go shopping. And so we started to partner with Stitch Fix. My wife was ecstatic. She's been using Stitch Fix for a while, so she couldn't wait for me to redo my wardrobe and upgrade my wardrobe. And that's exactly what has happened with the stylist at Stitch Fix. And look, I was skeptical. I didn't really think they could match my style and what I like to wear, but I was surprised. They sent over my first bag, and there was some good stuff in there that I wear just about every day now. Absolutely love it, and you will too. So make the switch to Stitch Fix, style that makes you feel good as you look. You can get started today at stitchfix.com/MLB and get $20 off your first fix. That's stitchfix.com. And sorry, the new promo is now that you can get $25 off your first 4 orders. So I do apologize for that. They got the new promo out now. Get $25 off each of your first 4 orders over at stitchfix.com. stitchfix.com/MLB. Must redeem within 7 days of signing up. You love watching sports and love listening to it all day long in the background while you work, whatever you're doing around the house. Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the nonsense that you hear at some of the other big networks. You can find it on YouTube or in the Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Let's get into some of the trade news, starting with some of the bigger ones. The Yankees get Jazz Chisholm from the Marlins for Jared Cerna, Augustin Ramirez, and Abraham Ramirez. I'll be honest, I don't know much about any of those prospects, but from what I've heard, the Marlins got a pretty good return in that deal from the Yankees. I know a lot of fans were wanting Jazz. I never necessarily saw the fit. I've always thought he's a little bit overrated, and Yankees apparently paid a pretty good price for him. Now, I do think that's going to be a perfect fit for Jazz Chisholm, and as long as he can stay healthy, which has been an issue for him in his short career, I think he's going to do great things in Yankee Stadium. So I think that was a great move for the Yankees to get Jazz Chisholm. Again, sounds like it was a pretty strong package that they sent to the Marlins in that one. The Orioles got Zach Eflin in cash from the Rays for Matt Horvath, Jackson Baumeister, and Matthew Etzel. Do recognize some of those names, some really good prospects there. The Orioles are obviously very, very deep, and that's what we talk about with this Braves team and trying to make some of these moves. They just don't have a deep farm system like some of these other teams, like Seattle, who went out and got Randy Arozarena, one of the best farm systems in baseball. The Orioles, one of the best farm systems in baseball, able to go out and get Zach Eflin, another name that I thought made a lot of sense for the Braves, a guy that could help you this year and next year. But the Orioles are able to go out and get him. This one stung. This one hurt me a little bit. If you know, you've been listening to the podcast, I really wanted the Braves to go get Jesse Winker. I thought it could be, a pretty cheap option, and I think it turns out that it was. The Mets give up Tyler Stewart, who, just looking at his stuff, looking at his numbers, I feel like the Braves, it's pretty similar to Ian Mejia for the Braves. I think that would have been the cost, and a cost that I would be happy to pay for, 2 months of Jesse Winker, a guy that can fill a lot of needs that you have on your team as an on-base guy who can steal some bases for you. I know there was a lot of questions on a lot of Braves fans wondering about his, clubhouse presence. Maybe that was a thing. I don't know enough about that. I know there was one report with one team that he had that maybe there were some issues there, but you don't hear anything else out of, any of the other clubhouses that he's been a part of. But I just felt, what he does and the cost for him made a ton of sense for the Braves. But instead, he goes to a rival in the division and a team that you are battling for a postseason spot with. So that one really stung for me. We'll see what else happens the rest of the deadline, but I felt like that's one that maybe got away from him a little bit. Could have been a good pickup for the Braves. The Phillies also making moves. They got Austin Hayes from the Orioles in a swap between contenders. And then they also go out after they traded, reliever in that deal. They get rid of Sir Anthony Dominguez, but they bring over Carlos Estevez from the Angels for George Clausen and Samuel Aldigueri. And that was, a bit of an interesting move. Look, Carlos Estevez, he is the Angels closer. I think that's out of necessity, and he's done fine in that role. I think he's going to be more of a setup guy. We'll see if maybe he gets some chances to close. I know Alvarado's had his issues in that closing job. Jeff Hoffman's probably the better closer of the two over there, but they get some bullpen help with Carlos Estevez, kind of deepens them a little bit in the back end of the bullpen. So another good move there. The Phillies kind of bolstering their pitching staff, just kind of looking at Carlos Estevez. It's 32 strikeouts in 34 innings this year with 20 saves. A 0.74 whip this season is really, really good after it was 1.49 last year. So he's having a really good season with the Angels, able to cut his walk rate down from 11% to 4% this year. So that is a really big jump for Carlos Estevez, done a much better job of not walking hitters. The Cubs get Isaac Paredes from the Rays for Christopher Morel and 2 prospects. Cubs, they went out and got Nate Pearson from the Blue Jays as well. They go and get Isaac Paredes. I feel like the Rays are just going to turn Christopher Morel into Isaac Paredes. So I don't know that I necessarily understand that move from the Cubs' point of view. Isaac Paredes, if you don't know his batted ball profile, he has to pull for power and won't do as well in Wrigley Field. Let's just say that the ballpark dimensions won't do him much favors there. So That I thought was a bit of a questionable trade, maybe trying to overthink things a little bit too much. Padres get Jason Adam from the Padres for Dylan Lesko, Homer Bush Jr., and JD Gonzalez. Seems like a really steep price to pay for a reliever who is, a high leverage guy, can save, can get some save situation chances as well. Dylan Lesko is thought of a really high pitching prospect. I'll be honest, I have him in my dynasty league, and I have turned down deals for players or for teams wanting to get Dylan Lesko for much more than Jason Adams. So I thought that was a really strange move from the Padres. I felt like that was a pretty high price to pay for a reliever. The Rays seem to be making out really well at this deadline, as you might imagine, for a team that is as savvy as the Rays. And then the Boston Red Sox get Danny Jansen from the Blue Jays for Cutter Coffee, Edison Paulino, and Gilberto Batista. So the Red Sox bolster their catching staff. So it's been a lot of moves. I'm just checking right now, and I'll check again before we get off. But there's been a ton of activity already, which I know means Braves fans are getting a little restless that they haven't done anything yet, but there is still time. Again, less than 48 hours, but there is time for things to happen. But those are all the major moves so far, the ones that we haven't talked about already, at least. And again, the only one in there, or two in there, that I felt like were good fits for the Braves, Zach Eflin and Jesse Winker. Those are two names that I kind of had circled that I thought could be really good targets for the Atlanta Braves. Jesse Winker, a rental type player. So if you're worried about the outfield situation going forward, you wouldn't really have to with getting somebody like Jesse Winker. Eflin giving you somebody that, again, gives you depth for this year and next year. But both those guys are off their list. I'm sure Alex Anthopoulos is busy on the phones trying to find something to get a deal done. But it's hard out there. It is tough. And I talked about this. I joined Grant McCauley's show on From the Diamond. With the supply and demand that the way it is driving up the price. And I just told you about the prices of some of these players. It's really, really high just because the supply isn't very high. And so I can only imagine that other teams are holding the Braves hostage with their best prospects right now. And it's already a thin system, and you're having to use these prospects at the big league level right now because of all the injuries. I mean, you think about it. We talked about it just before Nacho got called up. They were showcasing him at third base. He was one of your better trade chips, and now you've had to call him up, and now it has that hurt his value because he's struggled since getting called up to the big leagues. Is his value now down because of that? You look at a Spencer Schwellenbach, which I'm glad the Braves, aren't going to trade him. At least I don't think they are. He seems like a big piece of the rotation, but it's a guy that, could have been a solid trade chip for you. Same for an AJ Smith-Shawver and even a Hurston Waldrop, who I still think, have a lot of trade value, but those are guys that you may need down the stretch at the big league level. So you're talking about some of your better trade chips you're having to use just to get through this season because of all the injuries, which makes it even harder for Alex Anthopoulos to give up everybody else that he has in the farm system, because you're just not left with much after you consider the players that they're having to use. So it's going to be a really difficult deadline for Alex Anthopoulos, and probably why he hasn't made a move yet, because he's not going to go beyond what he believes the value is. We've seen that in free agency deals time and time again. He's not going to do it in trades either, but he will make something happen. I do believe that, and I do believe he'll get at least a bat and a starting pitcher at the deadline. Who that's going to be, I don't know. If you do, let me know. We'll obviously cover all of that here over the next couple of days. If they do happen to make a trade, unless it's in the middle of the night, I will try to jump on here and give you my instant reaction and jump on with the live podcast. But again, I do think Alex will make something happen, but it's a really tough task for him right now. And with these pitcher injuries, now that's becoming more of a priority, and the price only goes up. So it's going to be a lot of work for Alex, but I do think he's going to get something done to help this Braves team down the stretch. And good to see them bounce back and show some fight. I think you need to see that to kind of push Alex a little bit to say, hey, this team's not done yet. Let's go out and make some move, get him some help for the final 2 months of the season. But we'll see what happens with that. Again, hopefully move is coming here soon. And next, we'll get into our Miners Monday segment, also set you up for the series with the Brewers. We'll do all of that here next. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trade, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. All right, we'll jump through our Minors Monday segment here. Minor league season's coming to a close here pretty quickly. A.J. Smith-Shawver, 4 innings, 5 hits, 3 walks, gave up 3 earned, all on home runs, and that's something he's really struggled with in his short professional career. Home run ball, and that kind of plagued him again. Still had 7 strikeouts in 4 innings again, showing you that big stuff, but the 3 walks, the solo home runs, certainly something he has to clean up before he gets another shot at the big league level. Hurston Waldrop making his way back as he's been out for a while, and it was a a rough one for him. 2 innings, gave up 5 hits, 2 walks, and 4 earned runs. Did strike out for J.R. Ritchie, obviously coming back from Tommy John surgery. A little bit of a rusty start for him as well. 3 1/3 innings, 3 hits, 2 walks, 2 earned, but again, did have 4 strikeouts. And then Nacho's obviously up. Cade Keeler's out for the season. Jose Perdomo at the DSL level. Another solid week for him. Luis Guanipo, 1 for 20 with 2 walks as he tries to adjust to full season ball with Augusta. So not a great week for him. Drew Hackenberg, we got to talk about him here for a minute. 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 walk, 1 earned, 6 strikeouts this past week. That's 10 fewer strikeouts than he had in his previous outing, which I didn't get to mention last Minors Monday because he did it right after we finished recording. But in his start last Sunday, he went 7 innings, gave up 3 hits, no walks, 1 earned with 16 strikeouts. So very impressive stuff from Drew Hackenberg, who, again, had some ups and downs when he first got called up to Double-A, but last 2 starts, he has seemed to settle in very nicely there at Double-A. So good to see that for him. I mentioned Jose Perdomo. I want to go back on him. He's played just 5 games at the Dominican League level since coming back. He's 3 for 13 at the plate, all singles with no walks and 4 strikeouts. So again, he's just kind of getting his feet wet after missing most of the season, and he's just 17 years old, but obviously one of the Braves' top prospects. Going through each level down at Gwinnett, Drake Baldwin has entered the top 10 now with Schwellenbach graduating. He's 5 for 18 with a double and 5 walks this past week. And he was also at Gwinnett, where Alejo Lopez was 12 for 28 this past week, had a double and a homer, a walk, and 3 stolen bases. JP Martinez, 8 for 24 with 3 doubles and 3 stolen bases. Yuli Gurriel, 7 for 19 with 2 homers. Darius Vines, could he get another shot soon? Well, this past week, he went 6 innings, gave up 4 hits, no walks, 1 earned, and 8 strikeouts. Ken Giles, haven't talked about him a lot this year. 3 innings, 2 hits, no walks, 1 earned, and 5 strikeouts this past week. Ian Anderson, 4 1/3 innings, 7 hits, 2 walks, 3 earned, 4 strikeouts. Huascar Ynoa, 3 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, no earned, 2 strikeouts. Those 2 guys trying to work their way back from injury. At Mississippi, Bryson Horn, 4 for 17 with a double and a homer, 2 walks and a stolen base. Not a lot to talk about offensively at Mississippi. Luis Diavila, 11 innings, obviously in 2 starts this past week, 8 hits, 4 walks, only 2 earned, and 6 strikeouts. Feels like a pretty obvious trade candidate. If there's a small deal to be made, he's a guy that's, done really well at the Double-A level, and it's probably, deserving of at least a bump to Triple-A, if not a spot or an opportunity at the major league level. Seems like a solid, possible back of the rotation type of guy. So we'll see what happens there if he sticks in the Braves system or he gets traded. Lucas Braun, 6 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 1 walk, 1 earned, and 4 strikeouts. At Rome, Ethan Workinger, 7 for 25 this past week with a double, a triple, 2 walks, and a stolen base. Adam Zabrowski, 6 for 20, hit for the cycle over the week with 2 doubles, a triple, and a home run. Corey Wall, 9 1/3 innings over 2 starts, just 5 hits allowed, 1 walk, 2 earned. and 8 strikeouts. Giancarlo Lara, he's had a couple of good starts in a row now. This is the best of the season. I think I said that last week. So, again, just getting better. 6 innings, only 2 hits, did walk 2, but no earned runs and 6 strikeouts. Great to see that. Shea Shoneman, 3 2/3 innings, 2 hits, no walks, no earned, and 5 strikeouts. And then Blake Burkhalter, 6 innings, 6 hits, no walks, no earned, just 1 strikeout, but still put zeros up in that score column, and you feel really good about your outing. John Gill is a name, I feel like I've talked about him all year long. He's now up to full season ball at Augusta, 5 for 17 this past week, a double, a triple, 2 walks, and 3 stolen bases. He was the best hitter in the Arizona Complex League. He's now gone to Augusta, where he's been the best hitter there. Just somebody to take note of in this Braves farm system as a sneaky hitter. Noah Williams, 4 for 11 this past week, 2 doubles and a home run. Garrett Ballman on the mound, 4 innings, did give up 5 hits, 2 walks, and 2 earned, but struck out 8. So good to see there. Didier Fuentes, 4 2/3 innings, 3 hits, 2 walks, 3 earned, but again with 8 strikeouts. So he and Ballman both getting to 8 punch-outs. And then Guillermo Diaz, guy I mentioned last week, 2 2/3 innings, 2 hits, 1 walk, no earned, and 5 strikeouts. Good to see that from Diaz. And then at the FCL level, Diego Benitez had a good week, 3 for 8 with a homer and a walk. Carlos Monteverde, 3 for 6 with 3 doubles and 3 walks. So very good week there. So that's your Miners Monday update. Again, we'll see who gets traded at the deadline as the Braves look to make some moves. The news I mentioned earlier, Ronaldo Lopez, some forearm tightness. He was removed as a precaution, but they are flying him back to Atlanta for an MRI. They expect those results to come in Monday. So if we get a major update there Monday, may jump on with a little short video just to cover that. Hoping for the best, obviously, and not feeling great about it when you're getting flown back for an MRI. But again, we'll wait to see the official reports on that on Monday. The Braves head to Milwaukee next, where they got 3 against the Brewers, who lead the NL Central. You look at the profile for the Brewers. They are 11th in OPS as a team, 22nd in homers. But here's where they really get you. 3rd in on-base percentage and 3rd in steals. They're going to walk. They're going to steal. It's a young team. Got some speed on there. Kind of reminds you of that Diamondbacks team a little bit, where they're going to run the bases really well, and that's how they score their runs. 12th most strikeouts. So kind of middle of the pack there. And then on the pitching side, where typically, you think of them as being a very well-pitched team. 7th in ERA is good, 15th in WHIP, and just 26th in K per 9. It's not the Corbin Burns of the world. They do still have Freddie Peralta there, but they've kind of just been getting it done with guys who know how to pitch and not necessarily the biggest stuff guys for the Milwaukee Brewers. You look at who's hot offensively for them. Willy Adames, a 1057 OPS in his last 8 games with a couple of doubles and 2 home runs. Jackson Chourio, who, big rookie. Obviously, they signed him to that big contract before he even played a major league game, got off to a slow start, but he's having a good second half to his first year. 2 doubles, a home run in his last 7 games. And then William Contreras and Rhys Hoskins each have an OPS over 850 in the last 2 weeks. Those are the guys with power that you have to keep your eye on. In the bullpen, they just got Devin Williams back, so tough timing for the Atlanta Braves, or maybe he's still a little rusty. Trevor McGill was their closer, and he's been really good, so it's another name to watch in that Brewers bullpen. You look at the pitching matchups in this series. Grant Holmes is expected to get the start on Monday for the Atlanta Braves. Will be his first big league start, and obviously, how long can he go? And the Braves bullpen had to cover 6 innings on Sunday with Lopez going out, so you're hoping he can at least get you 3 or 4 innings in this one. And then on the other side, you get Colin Ray for the Brewers, who's 9-3 this year, a 3.60 ERA, a 1.21 WHIP, but just 84 strikeouts in 110 innings, and a 4.88 expected ERA. Sinker, cutter, sweeper, throws 6 pitches overall. So again, as I mentioned earlier, a different type of pitching staff for the Milwaukee Brewers this year. More so guys who are just going to try to outpitch you, keep you off balance. He's gone at least 5 innings in the last 8 starts. The Tuesday game, it's to be determined for both teams. Don't know who's starting in that one. And then right now on Wednesday, it's slated to be Chris Sale versus Freddie Peralta. Bryce Elder did get scratched from his start on Sunday in Gwinnett, so there's a chance you see Bryce Elder again. I know many of you might not want to see that, but it could be an option for the Atlanta Braves on Tuesday in this series. It's not what you want to see. Obviously, we're about to see the results of the Braves pitching injuries right now with Max Fried out, Lopez potentially out in this one. You do get Sale, hopefully at some point in this series. But those first 2 games could be pretty rough. You're going to need that offense to really come through and continue what they did in the last 2-3 games in that Mets series. Going to need to see them continue to hit the home runs and give this pitching staff some relief. And hopefully that does continue in Milwaukee as the Braves look to take down the Brewers and get on track, make some deals, get some positivity going with this trade deadline with some wins. Obviously, the easiest way to kind of turn things around and get some momentum going, streak some wins together. And the Braves haven't done that enough here lately. Hopefully that ending to the series in New York gets that started. That will do it for this episode of Locked On Braves. Thank you so much for joining me. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube if you're new. Hit that thumbs up button as well. Make sure you follow us on social media at ShortstopBall, at @LockedOn_Braves, and make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast wherever you get your podcast, and we will talk to you next time.